The dark side is that I'm extremely moody and very introverted, and that's where I've always been told I'm like my father.
She was born 28 years ago in a suburb of Dallas, Texas. She grew up as Rachel Porter. Porter was the name of her stepfather, a man who raised her with love as if she were his own. But for years now, Rachel Porter has been forced to live with the legacy of her true heritage, a heritage she discovered one afternoon while sifting through mementos in the family attic.
All I remember is playing up in the attic and going through this box of letters and seeing Oswald and this man Oswald, but yet I had no idea who this man Oswald was.
Rachel was only a month old when her real father died. She wasn't old enough to watch TV that week in November 1963, the week President Kennedy was shot dead in Dallas. She couldn't recognize her daddy on the screen when Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for the crime, the weekend he was shot dead on national television.
I don't want to know Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin. I want to know Lee Harvey Oswald, the father, my father.
But Rachel did attend her father's funeral. That's her in her grandmother's arms when America buried Lee Harvey Oswald without a single tear. For 28 years, she has remained silent until now. Speaking with Kennedy historian David Lipton, author of a forthcoming book about her father, Rachel tells how her mother and stepfather sheltered her from the legacy of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Growing up out in the country, we were away from everything. We were away from the city. We were away from the public eye. She just did not want us to come in contact with anything that would maybe remind us or be a part of this kind of thing that they were trying to keep us away from. We'd heard the Oswald name in the house, but he was like a mystery man. We knew that this name would always instill pain or grief or would make my mother upset or would upset the house with this name.
Her mother and stepdad did what they could to give Rachel as normal a life as possible, but they couldn't hide.
We would have the local eyewitness news teams follow us to school.
And when Rachel arrived at school, she was the only girl in class whose daddy's name appeared in the history book.
Everything written then, or at least everything I was exposed to or heard about, never talked about innocence, so I always thought that he did it.
As she grew into womanhood, Rachel left her small town and ventured into the big city to go to college. But wherever she went, she felt like a marked woman, reluctant to reveal her true name.
Audrey Marina Rachel Oswald Porter. However, I only go by Porter as a safety measure.
And she soon found the consequences of letting people know that her father was one of the most infamous men of our time.
I've had attention from men when I did not have attention from them until they knew who I was. And suddenly I have a lot of attention from men. I can think of one man in particular, or two men in particular, who think that I'm just terrific only because I'm Lee Harvey Oswald's daughter. They think that I have a connection with a famous person, and it's like they're brushed with fame, I think,
I see.
which is a complete turnoff to me.
But it was only recently that Rachel was faced with the most ironic twist of all. It took a lifetime for Rachel to come to grips with the belief that her father, Lee Harvey Oswald, was the man who killed President Kennedy. But then, after years of reading and hearing all the theories, she came to the belief that her father was not an assassin, but a victim framed for the crime of the century.
My whole outlook on life has changed just by hearing that there's evidence that completely exonerates this man of the crime of killing the president. Now, I'm not saying that he is not involved. I believe he's involved, or else why would he be there? But I don't know. I really believe, though, that he didn't kill the president. And my whole life has been plagued by this idea that my father is the murderer of one of the most loved persons in the world. And if he's not responsible for that, then that means that a great part of the burden that I have to carry is gone.
And interestingly, she feels a kinship to the Kennedy family.
I wonder, come November, I wonder how painful it is for them. I wonder how painful it is for them to see their father gunned down. And I wonder if they wonder how painful it is for me to see my father gunned down.
Rachel still lives in Texas. She's studying to be a nurse. She's still single and looks forward to getting married and leading a normal life.
If you could tell your father one thing, what would it be?
I would say, how could you leave your wife and your two kids to carry this burden?